In my previous video, I discussed the angelic identity of the sons of God and their incursion within the Genesis 6 account. This was the dominant view held by the early church and the church fathers. The idea that angels procreated with the daughters of man, giving rise to the mighty Nephilim, was common knowledge to the early church and the ancient Hebrews. Today, this view is seen as controversial in most Christian churches. The most accepted and newest interpretation of Genesis 6 is that the sons of God are the righteous descendants of Seth, and the daughters of man are the sinful descendants of Cain. This view has some significant weaknesses. First, the Bible does not reveal that all of the Sethite men were godly and the Cainites ungodly. By the time of Noah, only 8 people survived the flood on the ark. The rest of the world was corrupt and evil. This would have included all of the allegedly godly Sethites except for Noah and his family. Furthermore, if these Sethite men were so godly, then why did they continually marry ungodly women? This position does not really account for the offsprings of these unholy unions, being described as mighty men of old, men of renown. Why would the children of these marriages be any different than the children that come from unions of unbelievers and believers today? Why would these illicit unions lead to the devastating judgment of the flood? Throughout the Bible and apocryphal books found in older biblical canons, Nephilim have been described as being physically and noticeably different in appearance than the average human. The strongest objection to this position comes from the Genesis 6 text itself. Notice how the first use of men in this passage is in a general sense, that is, all men. This verse talks about something happening when all men begin to multiply on the face of the earth, and daughters were born to them. Who were daughters born to according to this verse? Men in general, not a specific group of men. The Sethite view fails because it offers an unjustifiable, dishonest interpretation of Genesis 6 that defies the use of the language and the view of the ancient biblical Hebrews. One of the most common arguments used against the fallen angel position is that Jesus claimed angels could not marry. This is based on the book of Matthew chapter 22 verse 30, where Jesus said that in the resurrection, people will neither marry nor are given in marriage, but are like angels of God in heaven. The verse Jesus is quoting is actually only found within the book of Enoch itself, which is where we find the detailed account of the angelic incursion. In the book of Matthew, Jesus was speaking about the normal activities of angels, while Genesis 6 explains a unique event. Jesus spoke about the angels in heaven, meaning that he was talking about godly angels rather than rebellious fallen angels who transgressed and abandoned their divine duties. The book of Jude references these fallen angels and states that they abandoned their proper abode. Jesus' words could also mean that angels did not marry in heaven, but do not address what they could do on earth. Jesus didn't say that angels could not marry, but that they do not marry. The greatest objection to the angelic view of Genesis 6 comes from a strong misunderstanding on the physiology and capabilities of angels. Some have claimed that the rebellious fallen angels are incapable of materializing, so it would be impossible for them to engage in physical relationships with women. This view, however, is unbiblical. Angels within the Bible have taken on fleshly form and are even capable of engaging in human activities. In the book of Hebrews, we are told that angels have the ability to shapeshift and materialize in a fleshly form. The book of Hebrews even informs us to be kind and hospitable towards strangers, because there's a chance that the stranger is an angel of God in physical form. The book of Hebrews chapter 13 verse 2. Be not forgetful to entertain strangers, for thereby some have entertained angels unawares. Why would we assume that fallen angels cannot materialize if they could have conceivably done so prior to falling? In the book of Genesis chapter 18, the Lord and 2 angels appeared to Abraham. Abraham offered the 2 angels food, and they accepted his hospitality and did eat the food. The book of Genesis chapter 18 verse 2, and he lifted up his eyes and looked, and lo, 3 men stood by him, and when he saw them he ran to meet them from the tent door, and bowed himself toward the ground. And he took butter and milk and the calf which he had dressed, and set it before him, and he stood by them under the tree, and they did eat. These same two angels ate a meal in Lot's home in the book of Genesis chapter 19 verse 3, when they arrived to Sodom to warn Lot and his family of the coming destruction. In the book of Genesis chapter 32, an angel uses a human form to wrestle with Jacob on even footing. Angels can and have taken on fleshly form, whether it's in the form of a human being or another physical form. This is how the fallen angels were able to procreate with the daughters of man, as described in the book of Genesis. This is the transgression of the fallen. They left their habitation and abandoned their divine duties that God had established for them. They defiled themselves by falling away from their proper nature and giving in to the sin of lust. This understanding was fully understood by the early church. One of the early church fathers, Clement of Rome, who was a Christian bishop in Rome in the 1st century and was a contemporary of the Apostle John, his writings detail on the angelic incursion described in Genesis 6 and their monstrous offsprings, the Nephilim. But when, having assumed these forms, they convicted as covetous those who stole them, and changed themselves into the nature of men, in order that, living holily, and showing the possibility of so living, they might subject the ungrateful to punishment. Yet having become in all respects men, they also partook of human lust, and being brought under its subjection, they fell into cohabitation with women, and being involved with them, and sunk into defilement altogether, emptied of their power, were unable to turn back to the first purity of their proper nature. Their members turned away from their fiery substance, for the fire itself being exhausted by the weight of lust, and changed into flesh, they trode the impious path downward. For they themselves, being fettered with bonds of flesh, were constrained and strongly bound. Wherefore they have no more been able to ascend into the heavens. The angelic rebellion and their sin of lust would explain every world myth, legend, and religious beliefs concerning gods and demigods. The biblical view connects the dots and provides the true history of the earth, while the pagan legends are a distortion of real events. The comparative myths concerning pagan gods are actually the fallen angels, and the children of the gods, the demigods, are the Nephilim. I hope this video and the previous video was very fruitful, and I hope this cleared up any misunderstanding concerning the angelic incursion in Genesis 6. If you would like to support this channel, I do have a Patreon, and I've also written a book about the existence and location of the Garden of Eden. The links to those will be in the bio below. Again, thank you so much for watching. Please let me know your honest thoughts in the comment section below. Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. Till next time.